Okay, welcome back to our January 12th Board of County Commission meeting. We are reconvening at 1:30 p.m. and we are taking departmental number 6, franchise agreement with Waste Management, Inc. of Florida for the collection of solid waste and recyclable material.
Madam Chair, we're actually going to start with Department 5, which is the extension first, if that's okay.
Yep, sorry. Okay, departmental number 5.
Mr. Amerson's going to start us off with this item.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good afternoon. Sam Emerson for the record. At the direction of the board, staff and Waste Management have been negotiating a new franchise agreement for the collection of solid waste and recyclable materials. This new agreement will commence on October 1 of 2021. And in order for Waste Management to have adequate time to purchase new frontline vehicles, equipment, purchase the recycling carts and distribute those carts, and then commence operations under the new agreement, we're going to need a time extension of 6 months. The current agreement expires on March 31st of 2021, so another 6-month extension would move the current contract to September 30 of 2021, anticipating the start of the new agreement on October 1. A couple of items in the amendment. One was the term of the franchise agreements shall be and hereby is extended through September 30th of 2021. All the terms and conditions in the franchise agreements as previously amended shall remain unaltered and in effect except as provided in paragraph 1 above. Additionally, there's a supplemental memo that's been provided in your packet. After drafting the initial second amendment, staff and Waste Management have made some modifications to include paragraph 3 in the second amendment, basically just to clarify the contractor's obligations. It doesn't change or otherwise amend any of the other rights or obligations of the county or the contractor. In that paragraph 3, as amended, is section 76 of the Eastern Agreement requires the contractor to provide certain recycling and disposal services to the county. Among other things, section 76.2 requires the contractor to transport recyclable materials from the county's transfer station to the contractor's router's recycling facility. This requirement in section 76.2 shall have no force or effect after 11:59 p.m. on September 30th of 2021. This paragraph 3 is included in the second amendment solely to clarify the contractor's obligations. It does not change or otherwise amend any of the rights or obligations of the contractor and the county under the franchise agreements. So this second amendment will provide for the 6-month extension, and staff recommendation is move the board authorize the chair to execute the second amendment to the solid waste franchise agreements to extend the terms of the franchise agreements through September 30 of 2021.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Campy?
Barring any public comment, I would make a motion to accept staff's recommendation as presented.
Okay, I have no public comment forms at the moment, so seeing no public comment, we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, now we will move on to departmental number 6.
Yes. So Departmental 6, I will be introducing this item. Don Donaldson, Deputy County Administrator. As you know, since our last time we met on this item, the board directed staff to negotiate a new franchise agreement with Waste Management, Inc. of Florida. We did that using the existing contract that was submitted in the RFP with the goal of maintaining the services and that were submitted with that proposal, and to find if there was ways we could reduce the cost that would again maintain the overall service that we had requested in the original RFP. Staff has done that. I will go to, we have a brief PowerPoint. Donna, if you could take me to page 911. Thank you. So some things that are benefits of the new agreement. it's significant that we are having an increase in the level of service that's being provided, and the number of pickup times, the number of routes. We will have pickups that will end earlier in the day as opposed to having them extended, which benefits our customers and our public in terms of having, again, having those pickups timely. Also, it includes pickups after holidays. If you had a holiday fall on a pickup day and during the week, the day immediately following that, you will have pickup. A number of communities don't have that. And we'll also be maintaining our landfill to accommodate them, emptying those trucks as appropriate. In addition, we're going to a single stream recycling, which means that you won't have two separate bins at your house anymore. You're going to have a single cart, a 65-gallon wheel cart. Those recyclables will be collected via an automated truck system. And those trucks, by the way, will be going to natural gas, which will improve the emissions and carbon footprint. So that's some of the significant benefits that we're having with the new contract. And some highlights from what you saw in the original agreement that allowed us to reduce the costs. As Sam stated earlier, that in extending the contract to start on October 1st, there is a significant amount of equipment and that needs to be purchased for this new contract. And with that agreement, the 75% of the trucks will be in service at the beginning, at the end of this year, and then they have until October 1 of 2022 to get the remainder of those collection vehicles. So recycling carts will be procured and distributed before the commencement date. I think the next item, we had a fixed 3% consumer price index that was included in the original RFP. That's been modified to one that has varied, but it can go lower than 2%, lower than 3% to a low of 2, and a ceiling of 5. The last average of the last 10 years, that's been about a little over 3 to 4% is what that has been. It does a better job of reflecting the water, sewer, trash services, in that the equipment used by water, sewer, and trash is largely governed by a lot of emission standards, so their equipment has gone up at a higher rate than the inflation. We also see that it's heavily dependent upon personnel costs, and we want our personnel costs to be competitive so that we have our good drivers and those that are able to serve our community and be able to still live in our community. And we know that with the recent changes in the state that we will have an increased minimum wage going into effect, so this will help mitigate that. Also, we recognition of recycling cart restrictions in certain communities. We know that some communities actually have a specialized service that the county does not pay for. They pay addition on top of that to have collection services. So it acknowledges that so that the number of 65-gallon cart containers can be reduced based upon those communities that have those specialized services. And there are some other things, administrative procedure changes, commercial right-sizing program, and some recording requirements that were in the original contract. Since we are continuing the contract with Waste Management, was not necessary because of some of these provisions we're anticipating in the event we had a new provider, so they were not necessary. And then finally, we have an item here that was simply we have Waste Management has provided funds for litter control, and they've increased that funding from $25,000 annually to $40,000 to expand our basically our trash and community outreach for our roadsides and other trash-related activities. So those are the highlights of the agreement. The pricing for the residential rate is the same as it was when we first saw this back in September, which was at $384.20, which equates to $1.85 per visit at your house. The savings which we incurred through our negotiations of $1,250,000 was to reduce the size of the amounts that are on the commercial side. Certainly, there's a lot of uncertainty in our commercial businesses right now. Also, in review of the amount of equipment and services that the residential size, we concurred with Waste Management that the price that is proposed is what it costs to actually deliver the residential rate. And so it allowed us to, again, to bring also the commercial side to be appropriate without contributing extra funds to lower the cost to residential rate. So I think both sides are now basically paying for what it costs to deliver the service, which we think is fair and appropriate, especially on these times. So our recommendation is the move that the board authorize the chair to execute the franchise agreement between the county and Waste Management for the goods and services provided within the agreement. And we're here for any questions.
Great. That moves back to the board.
Do they have any?
Do you have, does anybody else have a presentation? No. Commissioner Hurd?
Yeah, this is a question it's definitely a question for Waste Management. I know that there was a lot of support for the Waste Management continued contract in Martin County, and that was based entirely upon our loyalty to your staff. We love our garbage men. They do a fabulous job. So I noticed that the recycling is going to be picked up by an automated system. Are you going to be dropping any employees?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, and staff. For the record, Jeff Sabin, Waste Management. Commissioner, no, we are not dropping employees. We have plenty of room, and we need to, as Mr. Donaldson said, we're expanding the number of routes for residential collection, so we have a place for all our current employees.
Terrific. Thanks.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, I'd move approval of staff's recommendation, and if and when there's a second, I'm sure there will be, then I might have some comments.
You just got it.
I just got it?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Commissioner Smith, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's important. Jeff pointed out that, and Sarah pointed out that Waste Management staff is second to none. The folks that make all the things happen out on the street that none of us seem to really realize how exactly they do it, really are amazing people. And I say this every time anybody ever talks to me about garbage collection, is that no matter what I put out at the curbside, it seems to always disappear by the end of the afternoon. And of all the comments we get throughout the year, if I get a handful, and that would be a lot of comment, less than a handful a year from our entire community as to an issue or something that didn't occur or should have occurred with Waste Management is a lot. And so for that and many other reasons is why that I supported the effort in which our staff and Waste Management have gone through to get us to where we are today. But I'd go one step further and just point out that to the Waste Management Company, you have by far one of the most loyal employees and best representatives of the company I've ever worked with in my entire career, both here at the county and prior careers that I worked on. You have a guy who, at the drop of a hat, does what he's asked to do. He shows up, he's present, he's supportive, and he makes your company look really super good. Not that you don't look good, but Jeff Sabin is an awesome employee. And the other guy sitting in the audience isn't so bad either. Senator Pruitt, all your years of service to our state, all the things you've done to support our community and make things happen in the state that make us a much better place. Thank you for all that you've done, and thank you for your help in representing, I think, in the best way possible, a company that is probably one of our largest contracts and certainly one of the most impactful things that our community goes through. Because trash is a really big thing. If it's not picked up, it's a huge problem. And you guys do an amazing job, and thank you for everything you all do for our community. And I know you get paid for it, but at the same time, you still got to carry it out and you got to make it happen. And I, for one, am certainly very appreciative of all the things you all do for us. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. I would concur with all those sentiments. Commissioner Campy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you remember when this first came up, we were still over in the library, and there was some concern with the other companies that were bidding, and it started to turn into a situation where people were concerned that the bid price for waste management was dramatically more than the other worthy competitors. And I spent several weeks, I'm assuming my colleagues did as well, fielding questions and comments and concerns. And what I just wanted to reiterate twofold. One is that the difference between buying a product and buying a service. When you're buying a product, and apples are apples, you can really start to define what you're purchasing based on price, and that can be the deciding factor. But when you're buying a service, as Commissioner Smith said, that the residents rightfully so take for granted, because when you're doing, and everyone knows this, when you do your job very well, people don't even notice. It just becomes natural. It's not until things start to fail that the residents normally would start to complain and rightfully so contact us. Waste management from Jeff Sabin, who, as Commissioner Smith said, is a remarkable employee for waste management. He is omnipresent. All of us as 5 commissioners go to tremendous amounts of events, and each of us can say that, I can speak for myself at least to say, when I go to events before coronavirus, Jeff Sabin was always there. Multiply that by 5 districts. Here's a guy who is obviously involved in the community. And if you remember when we were having our initial conversation, so many community organizations came and stepped up to show their support for not only waste management, but very specifically Jeff Sabin, who is an excellent employee. And I'll give you a perfect example. Out in Palm City Farms, we have some streets that might have multiple inhabitants living in specific units. And they might very well put out 10 or 12 garbage pails, and then a ton of miscellaneous garbage around the garbage pails. And then the garbage pails get knocked over, or animals might get into them, and then my residents and constituents would send me pictures of what would look like an abomination on the street, and either my staff or myself personally would contact Mr. Sabin, and then within hours I will get an email with photographs from happy constituents that would say, "Thank you so much, Commissioner, for all you did to clean that mess up." And for me, it was a phone call. And so, and I know that's also posted on social media.
Also because you went out and personally cleaned it up.
Oh, I was out there. I got the gloves. Jeff and I are out there ourselves, with the hefty bags.
Gloss over that.
I didn't want to blow my own horn, but I appreciate you blowing it. That is, we can kid about it, but for residents, that's a big deal. To have that level of customer service from a Fortune 200 company. There are other very large national corporations I wish would have the same level of customer service that Waste Management does. So I was willing to add a dollar value to that service, that once I explained where I was coming from, most of the people that had initial concerns completely understood, and no one debated me back to say, wait a second, I don't think Waste Management does an excellent job. They remarkably do. And it's something that happens, 2 or 3 times a week. If you do recycling and vegetative waste, the trucks are in all of our neighborhoods more than they're not. And the guys, the individual frontline workers could not be nicer. They could not be more professional. If you're waving, even as simple as you're coming down a narrow street and, the truck is coming towards you and you're trying to pass, they're out of the way. They empty the garbage pails and they set them all back up. And if you knock stuff, if they pull it out and stuff comes out of the pail, they're not just jumping back on the truck and driving away. They're cleaning up the entire area. They're putting the pails upright every single time at every single house. There is definitely a value for that, as well as the fact that I'd like to compliment in closing our staff for renegotiating the contract and tightening it up and sharpening. Waste Management sharpened their pencils. We sort of redesigned how specifically we wanted things. The two things that I like very much is the increased funding for educational services and programs that, again, communities would suffer from if they didn't have those services. Keep Martin Beautiful and other organizations. We just had an agenda item, or at least a comment last meeting, about the value of picking up litter and trash and the things like that. And we talked about education versus enforcement. Keep Martin Beautiful and Waste Management in collaboration with the other groups that do these things. The young children have to be educated through these programs. The communities come together and clean up marine litter and community projects and programs that if we didn't, we would live in a pigsty. So it's a constant battle between those that think it's appropriate to litter and those of us that know you shouldn't. And then finally, the size of the recycling bins. I like that right sizing approach because my parents are in their mid-80s. They do not generate a lot of recycling waste as just two people in a house. That large container could be unwieldy for seniors and people that have issues, and to have a right size approach to putting the appropriate receptacles and containers in the appropriate areas is something that I'm very pleased that you work towards. So I could not be happier with how this went down for such a large contract. Thank you very much.
Great.
I like it, if you didn't realize.
Thank you. And I too, I'll echo those sentiments. I was not a believer in or didn't agree with the way the original procurement process was laid out. I've always thought Waste Management has provided a tremendous service, and I'm pleased with the way that we approached it here with the negotiation from staff and the good faith effort by all parties. So I commend all of you for that. And with that, we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Campy. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Yes.
I can just say I do appreciate the personal involvement from County Attorney Ms. Woods in this contract, Mr. Amerson, and the professionalism of Waste Management staff in working with us. Thank you.
We put our heavy hitters up on in the team.
Great. Thank you all. And okay, looks like we have neared the end of our agenda, and we are going to take 505 public comment now. And seeing no public comment, we will move to commissioner comments.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Smith, Commissioner Campy,
I'm set.
Mr. Hurd, Ms. Grizzo.
I was just gonna, I know we've had a lot of discussion this week about the vaccines, and I appreciate the fact that you recognized our representatives and our legislative folks that are helping us get those released. We did hear that the health department is, I think it's this afternoon, is being trained on a reservation system. So I would just ask the residents to continue to monitor that health department's site. And we have our site with the link as well. Yesterday we were a little distraught because we'd heard we were not going to get any vaccines. And through some of reaching out efforts to that legislative delegation, we were able to get 500 today. So we will continue to push those out. We also found out that the state wants to come in and bring their nurses in and run the pod. And the reason they're coming here is because we happen to have a pod established, and they're going into those established areas. So we will continue to work with the health department. I just wanted you all to get a little update on where we were. We had 2,800 vaccines initially, and now this additional 500. And Cleveland Clinic continues to vaccinate. So you can always go on their website.
Okay, great. Ms. Woods? Okay, our upcoming board meetings are February 2nd and February 16th, with February 4th being our joint city, school, and Village of Indiantown meeting. And with that, we are adjourned.